Hello and welcome to our busy webinar for today. We're going to talk about my digital marketing isn't working. What do I do? Today on our busy webinar, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of fun stuff, but most importantly, what to do when what you're doing isn't working. So if you're a big expert or if you've done a lot of stuff with digital marketing before, you've tried everything and you just can't seem to get the results that you're hoping for, we're going to share with you some tips and tricks that we use with our clients on how to get better results and maybe get yourself off that bump. Because if you're stuck, there's probably something that you're just so close to, you can't figure out what the problem is. So we'll talk through that today. And of course, if you do have questions, I'll share with you how to connect and ask questions in a couple of seconds. But for now, here's how to reach me. So if you would like to get a copy of today's slides, go ahead and send me an email at dave@bizzyweb.com, or you can get a hold of us at 612-4BizzyO, 424-9990. Before we get into how to ask questions, I am just going to share one slide on how we do what we do and what we do. We're going to share with you a couple of things today, but one of the big things that we love doing for our clients is helping them create better client experience to engage and get better results. Whether it's through website design, we design all of our WordPress websites for our clients in-house, or email marketing, social media marketing, content writing, search engine optimization, what have you. Having a consistent system that you can use, that you can measure and track to continually improve is what it's all about. If you'd like to ask questions today during the event, we are going to be checking occasionally. And if you're watching live from the page on the event site right now, you'll note that there's a little spot for the BizzyWebinar hashtag right below. So if you click on this in Twitter, you'll be able to ask questions using that hashtag. We'll keep our ears to the ground. And if you do have specific things that you'd like to hear about or issues that you're having, feel free to either tweet the hashtag to us or using the hashtag your concern, and maybe even your website or the specific page or piece of content that you would like advice on. This is always intended to be a helpful session for you. So if you'd like, again, you can just click on the hashtag like I just did, and it'll take you into a Twitter search box. You can see what's happening, and then of course, you can just tweet to connect. So if you click the tweet button, use the hashtag BizzyWebinar, we'll see that and we'll be able to answer your questions as we go. And of course, if you'd like to just ask us questions, you can send me a note again at dave@bizzyweb.com. All right, let's get rolling. Here's our agenda for today. First, we're going to talk about how to define digital marketing success. What I mean by success is more than just you seem to have things figured out and they seem to be working the way you want them to. There's specific things that you should look for and try to engage in order to improve your marketing. It's often said that marketing is measuring. And if you're not measuring what you're doing, you're really not marketing. You're just kind of hoping for the best and doing some things. And we're going to get you past that today by sharing some things to do. And then what to do when your marketing isn't working around 6 big things. If your website's not working, we're going to share with you some easy things to think about and look at in order to get better results. For social media, of course, what to do on the different networks and how to get better results from each of them. For content, same thing, SEO, search engine optimization. If you're just not getting found the way you expect to, we're going to help you figure that out. Paid advertising, once you're ready to double down and make sure your content is being seen, we're going to share with you some tips on how to make sure that that dollar goes as far as possible, and what to do if you just can't seem to get the right kind of people in the door. And then, of course, email marketing, how to use email campaigns, in particular auto-response campaigns and other types of marketing via email. You know, this isn't necessarily just sending some things out and BCCing everyone on your Outlook. This is sending out proper messaging that you're tracking and measuring opens and click-through rates and all of the different things that you can do with a good email marketing program. For example, our favorite is Constant Contact, to get you to that next level of success. And of course, what to do if those open rates aren't where you figure they should be. And then we're going to talk finally about just how to set up a system for success and to make sure that everything's working so that you can continue to refine and improve to grow what's working for you and then to either adjust or drop the things that just simply aren't. So with our first step then, let's talk about defining success. There's a lot of metrics to measurement and how to make sure that you're succeeding. And I want to get through some common misconceptions on what is and is not a good metric. So first, for common success metrics, good results and best indicators are conversions. So conversion meaning someone doing something that you want them to do. So if it's sales on your website, that's relatively easy. You're just looking for someone to buy something. And so the more clicks, the more purchases, the better off you are. If you're in a B2B business, that might be a little bit more complicated because you might not sell anything directly on your website. And instead, what you're looking to do is engage and grow your list so that you can continue to connect with the right people and then get your business through either referrals or through direct leads that you've touched and that you've had contact with. Because a lot of times with B2B marketing, business to business, you need to calm people down and assure them that you're the expert they need before they decide to make a purchase decision. So that's conversions. Sales, of course, is obvious. Another easy and active measurement to take, and if you're struggling with this, a great one to just focus on is physical actions. Now, a lot of times, and a lot of unscrupulous marketing companies will focus on specific types of actions like clicks, likes, or page views. Those aren't enough on their own to prove that you're doing anything. So if you have your marketing company telling you, well, you got 700 views on that page, well, that's great, but what did they do? And so focusing on actions is where the results are. And by actions, I mean not necessarily visits to a page, but people that clicked on a specific call to action. And I'm going to cover calls to action in a little bit, but when we talk about calls to action, it's the physical act. You're asking them to click here to download a white paper or to purchase now. And so once they get that link, once they understand what those are, then they can take that next step and they can do something. So forcing actions or measuring actions is what it's all about. And so common actions, of course, clicking on a call to action button, click now, register now, buy now, stop in, call us today, download our white paper, subscribe to our email newsletter. Those are the types of things that you're looking for people to do. If they aren't doing something physical, if they're just visiting your page, browsing and then going away, that doesn't necessarily help you at all. And they may be finding information that turns them off and they go to the page and then they bounce right back. And so bounce rates are one of those important metrics that we'll talk about again in a few slides. So conversions, sales, and actions are good things to look at. And then on the converse, clicks, likes, and page views are good and they're indicators of some sort of result, but they're not necessarily an indicator of an actual intended result. So if you're looking for those, if your marketing company or if you're measuring solely those types of things, just getting people to a page doesn't guarantee that you're encouraging them or that you're engaging with them or that they're taking that right step. So make sure that you're looking beyond that initial result. And in the olden days, especially in public relations, it used to be column inches, right? So we got this many newspaper reporters to write these many inches of columns on these many newspapers, or these many television shows showed up and we earned our advertising that way. Well, that's all well and good. And it's especially fine if you're a massive organization where you can afford to spend money just on branding. But if you're a small business, and by small business, I'm defining as anyone under $50 to $100 million in revenue, you really need to focus on getting people to do something that can forward your cause. So it's either purchasing or connecting, subscribing, taking some physical action that you can measure and track and improve. So that's our common success metrics. Now, What do we do when things stop working? You've probably worked on your website for a number of years. You probably have a whole bunch of pages on your website. You've got an About Us page, and you've got all kinds of stuff that you've been doing. You've tried a little bit of everything, but if it's just not working, let's talk about what to do. So for your website, indicators of poor performance include low sales or low traffic, of course. So if your website just isn't doing anything, or if you're looking at your analytics and you're not seeing a lot of visits, there's a number of things that could be wrong. I'm going to cover a few major ones. And then if you have a question or if you'd like our input, feel free again to tweet to BizzyWebinar, and we will ask that or provide our feedback. And I'm going to check on that in just a moment because I do want to share some good examples. And so I'm going to switch away from this presentation for a moment in a couple of moments, and we're going to go through some examples of what good websites do. But first, low sales, low traffic, high bounce rates. And a bounce rate is something that you might see or hear in your Google Analytics. And it's really confusing to a lot of social media or digital marketing newbies or folks that don't do this for a living. What a bounce rate is, it's someone that visits your page and then leaves your page. They bounce right off. And so a bounce is defined as folks that don't do anything other than visiting that page and then leave right away. So a high bounce rate, anything really over, I guess anything over like 20 or 30% of the people that visit your page and then bounce right off is probably an indicator that there's something wrong, and can be easily fixed by just giving people next actions and being very clear. If you have a homepage that was designed as a brochure, or if you have too much content on any given page, people might look at that page, either give up and click away, or just read through that content and decide they know enough and leave. All that tells you is that you've engaged them minimally and they've taken the step of clicking, but then you have no idea what happened next. So a bounce rate, and lowering your bounce rate as low as possible, is very important. Every action people take on your website, whether it's clicking on the About Us, clicking on the portfolio on your page, clicking on the contact information, or filling out a form, all of those things are indicators of engagement. And so if you can get people to take a step on any given page on your website, that lowered bounce rate is going to indicate that you're doing something right. If you have poor search rankings on your website, if you're just not showing up, of course, I'm going to cover this in SEO in more detail, but if you're just not showing up at all in search engines, there's probably something wrong with your website. It might be a lack of meta descriptions and data, H1, H2 tags, meta titles, meta descriptions, not enough links, not enough content, or simply not showing up correctly if your website isn't mobile responsive. Those can all adjust and affect your search rankings. And if you do have calls to action on your website and they're not being taken, nobody's following those links, well, it might just be that they're not standing out enough. You haven't made it obvious enough what you're asking people to do, or you're simply not asking people to take an action. And for websites that were designed as brochures or just as repositories of information, that's not uncommon. What to do? Of course, you're going to focus on usability and serve the user. Look at your website from the perspective of your visitor, of your ideal client who you're trying to reach and you're trying to get to take some next step. If you're not answering their concerns on every page of your website, but in particular your homepage, you're losing them. So focus on what's in it for them. If you sell drill bits, you don't really sell drill bits. What you do is you sell holes. So focus on the hole that you fill for your customer. No one cares if you've been in business 20 years, if you have very nice people that work at your business, or if your cat stays at your office 20 hours a day and really loves its new catnip toy. What they do care about is, can you fix what they're searching for your company to solve? So if you can do that and you can illustrate that and give them that next step, that's where your focus should be. If you don't have calls to action on every single page, you should. And that might just be in the footer or on the bottom of your page. But on every blog post, every content page, every About Us page, you should tell people what to do if they've found what they're looking for and they're ready to start the process. So having them fill out a form to get started, something that we do on every page of our website, for example. We have multiple calls to action on some pages, depending on what we're trying to cover. And so giving people that next step is very important. If you can't figure out what's going on in your website, you think it looks great, but it's just not working, consider hiring a consultant to review those issues. Look, of course, at mobile responsiveness. If you squish that website and it doesn't physically change its layout, if it cuts off on the side, for example, your website isn't mobile responsive and you're losing search traffic for anyone that's searching on a mobile device. And then redesign or refresh as required. For a great first start, try a buzz report. And if you go to BizzyWeb.com/buzz, we're going to show you a few things that you can do to fix your website or to adjust issues. And I'm going to switch over right now to an example of a buzz report. So if you go to BizzyWeb.com/buzz, so if you click on this page, and if you click down here if you just go to BizzyWeb.com/buzz, you'll see that there's a quick form that includes some details. So let me click here. Just make sure that we see this. Okay, here you go. So if you fill out this buzz report on our page, and again, you just go to BizzyWeb.com/BUZZ, fill out your website address and a keyword that you'd like to be found for. And then immediately what's going to pop up is a buzz report. And here's the buzz report request page. So I ran a buzz report on one of our clients that we do a bunch of things for. Now, anything over like 50 or 60% is considered pretty good with this tool. But you can download this link. There's a link up in the upper left-hand corner to download the page. And so I'm going to actually browse over to this and share a few things that are good indicators. So if I'm looking at this page for HeartCert CPR, for the keyword CPR, they've got great speed. And if you don't have a good web host, your website speed may suffer. So it needs to load fast so that Google can get in there and index it. The URL needs to be search engine friendly with no underscores, no weirdness. And then you have to have a good title tag and a good description tag. So in this case, HeartCert CPR training heroes every day in CPR. You can see why that ranks very well for CPR. Same thing, HeartCert CPR is a proud provider of American Heart Association CPR and ECC courses. So gives great examples and what to do in order to take the next step. Alt images, what to do if you have the right heading tags. So H1, H2, H3, you can think of these as big, small, or big, medium, and small headers on your website. And those should have some indication along your search engine terms. And so you should have, for example, HeartCert CPR training, snow shoveling safety, courses for workplace and community. Those should all relate to things that people are going to search for if you want to get found. As well, the copy analysis, of course, this is HeartCert CPR. And so this keyword CPR is used quite a bit, but you don't want to overdo keywords for your major, or you don't want to overdo the words for your major keywords on any given page. And then, of course, making sure that you're socially linked. And then down here, this is an example of a well-defined mobile responsive website. So the website looks like this when you're on a mobile device. And so that viewport meta tag and the mobile site map is in there and is working. So you take all of those things and you need to make sure that you're doing all of the stuff that you need to in order to get found. Likewise, when you click on the BizzyWeb website, for example, you can see that there's a number of calls to action on this page. And so as I browse, you go through and you can browse, all of these things are really calls to action, but when you go to web design, it says, let's build. There's let's talk, get started, latest news from the Hive, and what you can do to take that next step. to stay in the loop, to sign up. There's a lot of stuff on here, but if I go to the latest buzz, for example, and I click on a website or on one of our posts, the anatomy of a successful social media post, something that Jenna wrote last week, brilliant post on what to do if you want to be successful in social media. So read more on this one in particular, and it gives you a lot of detail on what needs to happen if you want to be successful with the different kinds of social networks. And these are examples from our clients. But then a tweet by any other name, click to get started. So if you're still struggling with your social media, our BuzzBuilders online marketing programs handle social for you, so you can give your customers the content they want that keeps them coming back. That is a great example of a call to action. Note that there's a header, a logo, and a big clickable button to make it as obvious as possible that this is what we want people to do. So make sure that you're taking advantage of all that. Let's click back over now to the presentation. And if you have more questions on website, go ahead and shoot me a note, or again, tweet to our hashtag #BizzyWebinar, and we'll talk more about that. Now, interestingly, we just got off of the social media page on what to do in order to engage better on social media. So again, go to that post on our website if you want more info. But indicators of poorly responding social media include low interaction or no interaction. So if you post something on social media and you get the digital version of crickets, no one clicks like, no one shares, no one comments, something's going on there. It might just be that you don't have enough folks following you yet. And really that lever point we found has been at least 100 to 200 likes on your Facebook page, for example, and it follows across all of the other networks. So you have to have someone that you're connecting with, or you're not really going to get good interaction. So having that, making sure that your engagement is good and that things are following well. So if you have no interaction, you don't have enough follows on your page, there's no calls, leads, or connections that are coming to you from your digital marketing, in essence, if you've got a digital ghost town going on any of the big networks, you need to check out what's happening. So look at your analytics in Facebook. This is the example of what you can see when you click on Facebook's Insights. You can see actions that happen on the page, how many page views, likes, the reach of your pages, which is a really strong indicator of what's happening and how often you're being shared, how many people are engaging, and then how many minutes of video views. But then you can also look at your most popular content. Note that in order to get much good data, you need to be relatively active on your social network of choice. So my recommendation to you, not knowing you at all, other than that you're fantastic because you're watching this webinar, is that you should probably start with Facebook because it's the largest social network. So if you don't have a Facebook page, take that next step. If you're in B2B marketing, or if you're in B2B and serve other businesses in any capacity, LinkedIn is a very strong consideration. If you're trying to reach millennials or younger folks, Instagram and Snapchat are very strong. Twitter is kind of a catch-all and is really the public utility of the web. And Google Plus is still out there, but it's largely a tool to get found on Google. So if you want to make sure that you're bolstering your SEO results, having a page on Google Plus and publishing to that page is a great idea. You can also use Pinterest or any other social network, but as long as you're measuring what's happening on that page, and as long as you're doing a good job on it, and by a good job, I mean you're posting at least once a week, you're being consistent, and you're following the rules that I'll outline in a moment, you're going to do pretty well and you'll start to see improved results. So fixes. First, of course, update your account if you haven't paid any attention to it for a while. So if you created a Facebook page 3 years ago but haven't posted to it in forever, start posting. But also look through the common areas of failure. Note on BizzyWeb's Facebook page that even though we have a very horizontal logo, the spelled out BizzyWeb, our social icon for Facebook is just Buzz, our mascot. That's because horizontal logos don't work well in little square boxes. With Facebook, what you get is a little square box, so you need to adjust your logo to match. having the right about us information and links to your content, links to your information, your open hours, your hours of operation, things that you do, posting a myriad of content, especially on Facebook. And one thing that a lot of companies amazingly still forget about, if you don't have a username on Facebook. So for example, BizzyWeb's username is facebook.com/BizzyWeb. You can register your username for free and very simply. Where you want to go is just type in facebook.com/username and make sure that your username on your Facebook page matches ideally the URL of your website. So facebook.com/BizzyWeb, BizzyWeb.com. That should be how people find you. Makes it much easier. And if we didn't have that, it would be facebook.com/pages/BizzyWeb/ like 19 digits. Very hard for people to type in. Makes it much easier for you to get found. So update all of the information under the About Us in all of your networks. Write for your followers. I mentioned that you should be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, all of those other places. One easy thing to consider is that a well-crafted and well-created website can automatically post content to your social networks. So if you browse BizzyWeb's content and if you click on our Facebook and our LinkedIn page and all that stuff, you'll notice that our blog posts show up on every single one of our social networks. We didn't do that. Our website did that for us. So if you create a website, especially if you build it in WordPress, and absolutely if you're a BizzyWeb client, you'll see your content publish across all of those networks so that you don't have to work so hard. And then you can focus on engaging and doing little other things on your social networks to get you better results. So update your account, write for your followers. We talked about this a little bit on your website already, and I'm going to talk about it even more in a second when I talk about content, but nobody cares about you. What they care about is what you can do for them. So focus on that and write for what you know that they're going to ask about. If you have frequently asked questions on your website, those are fantastic social media posts. Consider the 80-20 rule. 80% of your content should engage and inform, should draw people in and show them more about what they need to know if they're going to be a client of yours. And then 20% can focus on the next steps. A lot of people, especially it seems real estate agents, they just post new listings on their website. Well, that's great, but that's all about you. And yes, a client might be interested, but a better engagement in a way that one of our clients does this, they write about what's happening in their communities. And so, for example, if you're a realtor that serves a northern Minnesota resort town, you're going to focus on what's happening in that resort town because everyone that follows you is interested in that stuff. They're not going to be buying a house from you for a while, probably every 7 years or so is when we move, but they may know someone who is. And so if you keep up with them, if you stay top of mind, if you stay in front of them with helpful and interesting information, you're going to be the first person they think of when it is time to either take the step themselves or to refer. And so focusing on that 80-20 rule, engage, inform, and then convert. And then you can also advertise to boost traffic to specific places, but I'm going to cover that in a little bit with advertising. So there's social media. I do want to stop 1 second, make sure that we don't have any questions on the hashtag. So I'm going to click back over to our posts right here, make sure we don't have any questions. And again, if you do, just post to #BizzyWebinar, or if you're feeling shy or don't want to post anything on the public networks, you can absolutely just get a hold of us by sending me an email at dave@BizzyWeb.com. Looks like we're set, so I'm going to keep going. All right, so content. What you need to know if you're going to focus on great content is that indicators of poor content are just lack of content, of course. If you don't have much stuff on your website, you're not giving Google much to go on and many things for them to match up when people are searching for you and what you do. So having content on your website, of course, is urgent. If you don't have any engagement or have a high bounce rate on your pages, that's probably an indication that your content is either missing the mark or, again, there's not enough of it. If you don't have analytics and you can't tell what's being used and read and consumed, it makes it really hard to improve. But again, if you're focusing on what your customer is interested in and writing for them, things will naturally take care of themselves. And so if you're struggling, if you're seeing that your website just isn't getting any use, what's probably happening is that your content is too inward facing. You're talking too much about wins that you've had, about how many years you've been in business, about what you do, instead of how you can help your customers and underscoring how you have helped others in the past. Frequently asked questions, industry news and information, things that people are interested in, the stuff that people might say, wow, I didn't know that, in polite conversation at a cocktail party, would be great examples of good content to use. So to fix content issues, of course, be consistent. Write something every single week on your website, publish that across all of your social networks, follow that up with your email marketing, and you will be fine. Write for your audience. This is what your customer would be interested in. Don't be too jargon heavy. Even if you are in a technologically adept field, make sure that you're writing so that anyone at any level could get what you're trying to share and take some use from it. And then mix it up. Tell stories, curate content. And by curate content, I mean grabbing content from other places and sharing it responsibly. And then try videos, do presentations, use images and graphics. If you're a fan of BizzyWebs and you've been with us or followed us for a while, you've probably noticed that in the past few months, we've taken a dramatic uptick in sharing video, sharing additional audio and in-depth content, as well as just writing fantastic blog posts that our team is working on. That's because we believe in what we preach. And we're getting to the point where we can actually absolutely invest in what we do. So we're just taking the time to eat our own dog food. And so I hope you're enjoying that, and I would love your feedback if there's more that you would like to see that we haven't covered yet. So content, make sure that you're being consistent in writing for your client. How about optimization? If you want to show up better on search engines, here's some good indicators that it's not working. So if you're not getting search traffic, so nothing's coming from Google, all you're seeing is organic or main results. So people that are typing in your web address and no referrals from Google. As well, if you try to search for your main keywords, again, getting into the brains of your best customer, what would they search for if they were ready to make a purchase decision or wanted to research you to decide if they wanted to work with you? If in those searches you don't show up at all, that's a problem. So you need to make sure that you're covering that. If you have low traffic from mobile devices, again, with Google Analytics, you can measure, and it'll tell you how many Android devices, how many iPhones, how many tablets, and how many PCs are, of course, visiting your website. If you see that 80% of your traffic is showing up from website or from PCs, that's probably an indicator either that you've hit a really nice niche of people that are still stuck at desks, or, of course, that you're just not writing for mobile devices. If you have to pinch and zoom when you're on an iPhone or an Android in order to browse your content, and if it's just not legible or if it looks bad, you're not going to see much traffic. If your website is slow, if any of the things that we talked about with Heart-Search CPR, and when we went through that Bizzy Report before, if any of those things are broken, you're going to want to fix them in order to get that set, in order to get that better. To fix that content, of course, do regular content, at least weekly, optimize for search. So figure out what people are searching for and make sure that you have that content, those words on your page. Fix responsive issues. So if your website is not mobile responsive, fix it. And we can help you with that, of course. Register your local listings. Here's an interesting one. Try visiting Moz Local, M-O-Z Local, and register your page. You can simply search for your company name and your zip code, and it'll show you where you're already set up in all of these local directories. And the more directories you're set up with and the better optimized you are on each, the more likely you are to show up when someone's physically close by. Very, very good thing for most businesses. And of course, you can get your Buzz report at BizzyWeb.com/buzz. I did want to take one more second and show you another thing inside of that Buzz report, because after you go through all of these wonderful things, the Buzz report will actually give you a page or two of actual things to fix. So as you're looking at that, you can simply go in and change that. And I'm not sure what's going on. There we go. But you should be able to see that there's a bunch of things that you can do inside of here. So for HeartCert, add your keyword to an alt tag. Only use the exact keyword 2 to 4 times. Bold, italicize, or underline that exact keyword. So it's telling you how to improve your results. So make sure that you take care of that and that you're fixing that up for you. So that's a great way to improve. And of course, this Buzz report is free. Take it, make some use out of it, and take that next step. So, all right, let's go back in. And if you've got SEO, the last thing that you really need to concern yourself with, well, a couple things, is first, advertising. So if search engine optimization, if you're not getting found organically or without paying to get found, that's probably an indicator that advertising is going to be a good lever to at least speed up the process of having you get found. So indicators of poor advertising results, of course, if you're not advertising, you're not going to get great results, or if you're not getting the right kind of results from your advertising. And you have to kind of be understanding on what advertising actually can do. Advertising will not fix every problem in the world for you. If you're not getting leads, if you're not getting calls, if people aren't visiting your website and then taking the next step, it might be a problem with your website and not with your advertising, or it might be a problem with the tack that you're taking. If you're getting outspent, if every time you try to do a search, it seems like your competition is on top of it and they're spending on top of you and you just can't get any traction at all, well, there's some things that you can do. If people are clicking and they're not taking any action, that's probably an indicator of a bad call to action, or that you need to warm them up more. If you're just sending them to your homepage and they have to play the digital version of Where's Waldo in order to find the information that they're looking for, you're throwing away your advertising money. So here's how to fix some of those things. First, having dedicated landing pages for any advertising effort you take. If you're a window manufacturer and you're trying to get found for a specific kind of window replacement, making sure the advertising that you do directs people to a page that directly responds to their query. So if I'm looking for easement or casement windows, I need to go to a casement window page that shows me examples of casement windows and how to order. If, however, my advertising simply takes me to the home page of my website and they have to search all over the place to find that casement window, I've lost that sale. Don't make it hard for your potential customers to decide to take that next step. Also, make sure that you have single action calls to action on your website. If you're asking people to take seven different things, if your homepage understandably has 7 different things that people could do and calls to action on each of them, anytime it gets more than 1 or 2, people often just throw up their hands and say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this, and they just go away. So having one thing that you're asking people to do, and this again is why landing pages are so important, you can be completely set on asking them to do one thing, and that'll much better guarantee that they're actually going to take that. Tools like Google AdWords and other tools inside of like Facebook and other things can offer multiple versions of advertisements, and you can go with what works. If version A versus version B is showing up or responding quite a bit better, we'll start using that one more and figure out what didn't work with version B and continue to improve. You might also want to try negative keywords. And so telling people, if for example, you're a locksmith and you want to just work on auto keys, well, if someone's searching for home key, you don't want them to visit your website or take that click. So what you can tell Google is say, I want keys, but I don't want anyone that says house keys. And so that way people are going to only click or they're only going to see your ad if they're specifically looking for you. So that's negative keywords. And then of course, inside of all of these things, there's reports that you can take, and actually Google AdWords. There's a Google keyword tool that you can use for this, and just Google keyword tool. But you can look for low competition, high traffic keywords. So as you're looking for things, what you want to do is look for spots that you can get the most bang for your buck. So if a keyword comes out as high traffic, but that's low competition, that's a great indicator that you might be able to get some good traction out of that keyword. And then when you do take an ad and when you get people to that landing page, give them a compelling next step. Buy now, see more, download white paper. You want to warm them up, indicate them that they should do something, but give them that next step. Make it simple. Now, email. Email is one of the least optimized and most maligned tools in the digital marketer's handbook, and with bad reason. A lot of people use email poorly, and let that not be you. If you don't have an email strategy, if you're just sending out emails to everyone on a specific list that you happen to find somewhere that you've purchased, and you're spamming people, that obviously reflects poorly on you. Make sure that you're using a tool like Constant Contact that can actually help you get your messages delivered, that you can use to market your business instead of just spamming out to people. The definition or the difference between email marketing and spam is that email marketing is useful to the recipient and can be received in a positive light. Spam doesn't apply to you, and it could be a beautifully crafted message, but if it doesn't apply to you, you're not going to want to see it. So make sure that you're taking a strategy and you're thinking about it. So if you don't have a strategy, if you have a low open rate on your messages, so if you have a list of 1,000 people and only 2 people open that email, something's wrong. Either you have the wrong people, or your subject line is terrible, or it says sales at your company in the from line, or the message is getting flagged for spam because you wrote free, free, free in the subject line or something like that. If you don't have a big list, if you don't have many people to market to, that's obviously an issue. Or after they open your email, if they don't do anything with it, if they don't take a click, if they don't take that next step, that's another indicator that something is wrong. What you usually find if you have a decent open rate and a low click rate is that people are engaged with your company, but your message was poor, or there was too much on that email. If there's more than 2 or 3 things that you're asking people to do inside of an email, the likelihood that they'll do nothing and just close that message goes up dramatically. So just ask for 1 thing, maybe 2, in order to get great click-through rate. And so in order to fix your email issues, focus on design. Make sure that your email template looks great. More than half of people will unsubscribe from an email list if the email looks terrible, and actually they'll mark you as spam or unsubscribe from you entirely if your email messages don't look good. Be consistent, send out at least monthly or so, and look at the sender. It should come from you. Whoever in your company is the name. You'll probably notice that most of BizzyWeb stuff comes from Dave Meyer. That's because I'm the president of BizzyWeb and most people know me. But it should be you in some sense of the word. It shouldn't be sales. It shouldn't be events. It shouldn't be whatever. It should be you. Focus on the subject lines. They need to engage people. It needs to capture people's attention. If people are scrolling in their website or on their phone through their emails and it doesn't capture their attention enough for them to click right that second, you're missing out on marketing opportunities. There's a little thing. People ask when they open emails, they say now, later, or never. But here's the problem with later. Later is the Minnesota Nice version of never, because we get so much email. If I don't check it right now, there's much less result or much less likelihood that anyone's going to check that message 2 or 3 days later. So make sure that you're being compelling, that you focus on clear calls to action that are interesting, that use alliteration or some sort of interesting gotcha in order to bring people in. You don't want to be weird or, fool people. Look at Mashable or, heaven help us, BuzzFeed for great examples of clickbaity kind of headlines. You don't want to use clickbait, but you want to be engaging. You want to be clear. 3 things that everyone needs to know if they're going to be your best customer, right? So 3 things that every web company or that every marketer needs to know would be a great one for us. But a bad one for us would be Busy Web March newsletter. I almost fell asleep saying it, right? Make sure that you focus. So focus on subject lines, and of course, narrow your focus with only 1 or 2 calls to action. Want to check really quickly to make sure that we don't have any more questions on today's event. So if you do have questions, go ahead and send them into #BizzyWebinar or send me a note at dave@BizzyWeb.com. Again, as we wrap up, if you would like to keep in touch with us and you're not already subscribed to our messages, send a message to 22828 that says busy with your phone. Open up your phone, send a new text to 22828, BIZZY. Make sure that you don't let it autocorrect BUSY, but BIZZY. And then you're going to start getting tips and tricks on how to improve your marketing. And you'll also get invitations to events like today. So if you liked this, if you enjoyed it, please go ahead and register this way. As well, I would love it if you could please review us on Facebook. So if you go to BizzyWeb or facebook.com/BizzyWeb and click on the little stars in the lower right of the Facebook page and give us a ranking if you enjoyed it. Of course, if you didn't enjoy it, just get a hold of us and tell us how we can improve. But if you enjoyed that, we would love, and a big way that we reach more people is through those rankings. So if you can give us a 5-star rating, we'd love that. Same thing on Google. If you search for BizzyWeb, there's a ratings right on the right side underneath the card. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick review saying the information was helpful and I loved it, that would be fantastic. Again, here's how to reach me. Go to dave@BizzyWeb.com or 612-4BizzyO. And again, don't forget to grab your Buzz report at BizzyWeb.com/buzz. That's free, takes about 45 seconds total to do, and you'll walk away with about 10 pages of great stuff that you can do to improve your marketing if it's not working. Again, I am Dave Meyer with BizzyWeb. So delighted to have you with us today. Thank you so much. Let us know in comments or via email or via the hashtag if you want to see something similar to this or if there was something that we missed today, because this is all about you and about improving your results. So if we can be of help, we'd love to hear more. Please do share. And thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a fantastic Wednesday, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Again, I am Dave Meyer, and remember, at BizzyWeb, we help you generate buzz without getting stung. Have a great week.